Today, we're exploring one of the most groundbreaking comic book series ever created, Watchmen. This 12-issue limited series was published by DC Comics between 1986 and 1987. Watchmen redefined what superheroes could be, bringing complex storytelling, moral ambiguity, and literally depth to the medium. In this video, I'll walk you through all 12 issues, explore the creators behind it, and discuss the massive impact Watchmen had on the comic book industry. I remember being at a comic book convention years ago. I asked the comic vendor, "What should I buy with my last 10 bucks?" Without hesitation, he pulled out a graphic novel of Watchmen. He said, "Get this, you'll be happy you did." And you know what? He was 100% correct. If you have not read Watchmen yet, I encourage you to read it first. Please don't watch this video. I don't want you to miss out on all of the subtle nuances and depth that can be achieved only by experiencing it yourself when you go through it page by page. Trust me, you'll be glad you did. After you read it, come back, watch this video, and share your thoughts with us. With that being said, let's get started. Alan Moore. The writer is often called one of the greatest comic book writers of all time. Before Watchmen, he had already gained fame for his work on Swamp Thing and V for Vendetta. Moore is known for his layered, intricate plots, his ability to deconstruct mythology, and his unflinching look at the darkest sides of humanity. Dave Gibbons, the artist, had a style perfectly suited for Moore's vision, clean, precise, and incredibly disciplined. He adhered to a 9-panel grid layout throughout the series, giving the book a unique rhythm and visual control. His attention to detail meant that every background, every facial expression, and every prop added meaning and depth to the story. Right off the bat, the story opens up in a dramatic way, which sets the tone that this is not a normal book we're reading. The story opens with the brutal murder of Edward Blake, once known as the Comedian, a government-sanctioned vigilante. The crime scene is staged as a simple burglary gone wrong, but Rorschach, a masked vigilante still operating despite a nationwide ban on costume crime fighters, sees something more sinister. He pieces together the crime scene with clinical precision and becomes convinced that someone is targeting former heroes. Rorschach warns his retired peers, Night Owl, Dan Dryberg, Ozymandias, Adrian Veidt, Dr. Manhattan, John Osterman, and Silk Spectra, Laura Jepezik, of a potential threat to their kind, but none of them take him seriously, yet. The chapter ends with Laurie meeting Dan for a nostalgic drink. The comedian's funeral serves as the centerpiece. As his coffin is lowered, different characters recall their personal experiences with him. Through a series of flashbacks, we learn of the comedian's controversial past, including his attempted assault on the original Silk Spectra, Sally Jupiter, and his brutal actions during the Vietnam War. The funeral brings together the retired heroes, where memories surface about failed attempts to form a superhero team. Rorschach interrogates the agent villain Moloch, who confesses that a terrified comedian once visited him, drunkenly hidden at some vast conspiracy before his death, clearly shaken by what he had seen. Meanwhile, Cold War tensions simmer in the background. Laurie grows frustrated with Dr. Manhattan's inhuman detachment. Their relationship fractures after an argument, and she seeks comfort with Dan. Dr. Manhattan, meanwhile, agrees to a televised interview, but reporters ambush him with accusations that proximity to him has caused cancer in his former colleagues and lovers. The shock, coupled with his already mounting of alienation, drives John to abandon Earth for Mars. But before doing so, he teleports to Arizona to retrieve an old photo. His departure leaves the United States vulnerable without its ultimate protector. Meanwhile, Rorschach continues his investigation into the masked killer conspiracy. We see the first real cracks in the world's stability, both politically and personally, for the heroes. This issue is a masterpiece of nonlinear storytelling. We dive into Dr. Manhattan's origin, experiencing time as he does, past, present, and future, all at once. We see John Osterman as a watchmaker's son, then a young physicist who accidentally became Dr. Manhattan after being trapped in an intrinsic field subtractor that disassembled him in front of his then girlfriend, the same girl in the photo that he takes to Mars with him. After his accident, he begins reassembling himself and transform into something godlike. His story is tragic. Despite near infinite powers, he grows increasingly alienated from humanity. Unable to reconcile his deterministic understanding of time with human emotion, he loses his empathy, becomes more emotionless as time goes on. Now isolated in Mars, he begins to build an intrinsic and massive glass palace. A structural marvel, this issue is mirrored front to back. Each panel on one page corresponds to one on its opposite. Paranoia takes center stage. Rorschach digs deeper into his investigation, questioning Moloch about a list of names connected to cancer cases. Paranoia grips New York City amid nuclear fears, leading to tragic acts of violence. Adrian Veidt thwarts an assassination attempt on his life and shows his incredible reflexes. Dan offers Laurie a place to stay, and Rorschach is ambushed and arrested after being framed for the murder of Moloch. While in prison, Rorschach undergoes psychiatric evaluation by Dr. Malcolm Long. Flashbacks reveal Rorschach's, Walter Kovac's traumatic childhood, abusive mother, and home environment, and the brutal event that forged his uncompromising moral code and ink blot mask. Dr. Long is hoping to rehabilitate him. The issue illustrates how trauma, rage, and a sense of justice fused Walter into Rorschach, a man who views the world in a stark black and white. Rorschach's disturbing philosophy unsettles both the doctor and the reader. Dr. Malcolm Long himself unravels in his personal life, shaken by his patient's abyss-like moral clarity. Laurie grows closer to Dan. Their bond deepens. Laurie feels increasingly alienated from Dr. Manhattan, while Dan longs for his lost sense of purpose. They explore his basement, filled with Night Owl technology, a nostalgic shrine to their crime-fighting days. Dan struggles with impotence, reflecting both his midlife crisis and the suffocating effect living in a society that outlawed his identity as a hero. Their attempted intimacy fails until they spring into action, saving tenants from a burning building using Dan's owlship. In the thrill of heroism, they rediscover their passion, both for crime fighting and each other. Rejuvenated, they commit to breaking Rorschach out of prison, reawakening the dormant spirit of their masked identities. This issue highlights the human need for purpose and connection. Dan and Laurie commit to the daring decision to break Rorschach out of prison. The escape sequence is gritty and violent, showing just how dangerous Rorschach truly is, even when unarmed. Halloween Night brings both nostalgia and tragedy. Hollis Mason, the original Night Owl, is brutally murdered by a street gang. Dan and Laurie probe the mass killer conspiracy. On Mars, Dr. Manhattan transports Laurie away from Earth, setting the stage for revelations about her past. On Mars, the narrative shifts to an emotional and philosophical conversation. Laurie confronts her past while on Mars with Dr. Manhattan, who has withdrawn from Earth entirely. Laurie confronts Dr. Manhattan about his detachment, triggering her own unraveling. Memories of her childhood, her mother's career, and complicated relationship with the comedian resurface, leading to the shocking realization that Edward Blake, the comedian, is her biological father. This revelation devastates Laurie, but also forces her to accept the paradox of human existence, that beauty and meaning can arise from even the most violent and tragic circumstances. For Dr. Manhattan, Laurie's breakthrough becomes a revelation. If such unlikely outcomes are possible, then perhaps life itself is miraculous and worth preserving. For the first time in years, he reconsiders Earth's fate. Rorschach and Night Owl deepen their investigation, uncovering links to Vite and pyramid deliveries, hinting at massive hidden operations. Meanwhile, Vite himself observes the accelerating global chaos from afar. A secret island project tied to bioengineering collapses in disaster, leaving only hints of its horrific purpose. Realizing the conspiracy points to Vite, Rorschach leaves his journal, a chronicle of everything he has uncovered at the office of a French right-wing newspaper, in case he feels to return, so that the truth might be exposed. The sense of dread builds as they realize who is behind it all: Adrian Veidt, the world's smartest man, Ozymandias, and just how much danger they are in by confronting him head-on. At his Antarctic retreat, Veidt reveals his plans, drawing inspiration from pharaohs and Alexander the Great. Veidt has been orchestrating events for years, with cold precision. He has eliminated anyone who could expose his plans, and now presents his philosophy. Only an unprecedented act of terror can unite a divided world on the brink of nuclear war. Veidt eliminates loose ends amongst his own staff. By the time Rorschach and Night Owl confront them, it's already too late. The plan has been executed. The carnage in New York is horrifying, with millions dead, but global tensions immediately ease as nations band together against the supposed extraterrestrial threat. The aftermath unfolds. News reports describe a sudden cessation of Cold War hostilities as the United States and the Soviet Union unite against what they believe to be an alien threat. Veidt has achieved his vision of enforced peace, but at an unimaginable cost. The remaining heroes grapple with the morality of exposing him, reveal the truth and risk renewed global conflict, or remain complicit in the lie for the sake of peace. But Rorschach refuses to compromise and would rather die than live it with the lie. True to his word, he forces Dr. Manhattan's hand, and Manhattan vaporizes him to preserve the fragile new order. Later, Veidt has a private conversation with Dr. Manhattan and asks him, "I did the right thing, didn't I? It all worked out in the end," but is shocked to hear Dr. Manhattan's thoughts, that Veidt's plan to end war ultimately will not last. Dr. Manhattan states, "In the end, nothing ends, Adrian. Nothing ever ends." Dr. Manhattan then departs Earth forever, his detachment complete, while Dan and Laurie assume new identities, try to salvage some sort of personal happiness in their remaining days. The story closes ambiguously with Rorschach's journal sitting unread in the office of the newspaper, a ticking time bomb of truth waiting to be discovered. Watchmen changed everything. It asked hard questions. It redefined the superhero genre and what they could potentially be. It was political. It was psychological. It was thrilling, complex, and in-depth. It was literature magic. Its influence echoes beyond just comic books. It's a cultural milestone. It asked hard questions about power, morality. It showed us the true potential of comics as literature. If you read the book, I'm curious, how long did it take? And just like me, did you also have to, at times, pause the book, pull out a dictionary, and read some of the words to understand what the heck he's talking about? It was not the kind of words I was accustomed to reading when I was reading comic books. I felt smarter after reading it. And that's a wrap on our Watchmen breakdown. This is Nasser Subashi. Keep on creating, keep on dreaming, and most importantly, don't forget to have some fun in the process. Until next time.